1 mile, 3/16. It's the 146th running of the Grade 1 Preakness Stakes, $1 million guaranteed. And boy, am I excited.
I am too. Couldn't be more excited to see this field of 10 line up in here. And of course, last year we had Swiss skydiver, the female heroine, battling it out with Authentic, who then went on to win the Breeders' Cup Classic and won the Kentucky Derby before that. Horse of the year, she became champion, 3-year-old filly. What will this year bring?
Who knows? That was the greatest stretch run ever. Everybody was cheering like crazy. And, of course, Swiss Skydiver won it. So we get another whole new beautiful matchup here this afternoon. We're going to see how it plays out. But I know there's a lot of bettors out there want to see how the Rainbow Six situation is playing out. And we're going to show you 1,778 tickets, live tickets, no single tickets. So there'll be a carryover of about $563,000. So that is the Rainbow Six. So no one single unique ticket, so it'll carry over, but you're still alive. You got lots of chances to make a lot of money here. There's 1,700 people plus rooting for one of these horses in this race.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so many ways to go in this race, so many scenarios that could play out, and we'll try and give you our take on what we think might happen. But your current favorite, I think that's a story in itself, is not the horse that finished first in the Kentucky Derby, but Midnight Bourbon, the number 5, the horse that finished 6th.
Yeah, you know, he had some trouble in the Kentucky Derby coming back, but he's been the horse everyone has been talking about all week long. If you want to draw a picture of a perfect-looking horse, this is the horse you do. With just been outstanding in his training and again his preparations for this event.
We have a term for that. He's the wise guy horse. And indeed, he has been looking phenomenal on course. And I think everyone's been very taken with how he's been behaving. We know that in the past he's been a handful, sometimes acting up a little bit. Steve Asmussen himself walked him over for the Kentucky Derby to make sure that they kept a lid on him and he kept behaving on track. And in the mornings, what I've seen is a much more professional individual looking like $1 million. Really feel that. To me, it doesn't seem like that Kentucky Derby 2 weeks ago took much out of it.
Well, you're calling me a wise guy now because that's the horse I put on tickets. So
well.
She's calling me names here today just because I mean, Midnight Bourbon, I just think, coming back, he had a 6-week rest before going into the Kentucky Derby. So coming back on the short rest, I really respect the connections. I think that's really going to help this horse today.
I agree. And in the Kentucky Derby, he didn't get a great start at all. Mike Smith later reported to Steve Asmussen that he kind of got knocked sideways, lost his hind end, couldn't accelerate like he normally would. He's normally much more forwardly placed, but instead he ended up at the back of the field. And to me, and I think to the majority of bettors that were now agreeing with me, that race was over after that.
Yeah, it's all about the start of the race. Really, the first 100, 200 yards where you got to get these horses. And who was the master of getting this horse out of the gate was John Velasquez on Medina Spirit last time out. This horse went to the lead and just never looked back. So certainly a great performance by that horse. I'm a little surprised that he's a little cool on the board.
I agree. That was a very gutsy performance. And I do think perhaps we'll see a bit of shifting in favoritism as we get closer to the race. We're currently 34 minutes out of the historic 146 running of the Preakness. I dare say maybe some late money will start coming in for Medina Spirit after showing that he can outbreak an entire Kentucky Derby field and take them all the way. Indeed, masterful ride by Johnny Velasquez. Yeah, Midnight Bourbon, what he's shown before, though, in that Louisiana Derby, very game race. He broke strongly that day, hence we all expected him to do so again in the Kentucky Derby and possibly do so again here. There's a very intriguing sort of pace dynamic here, and perhaps Midnight Bourbon can get that beautiful stalking trip if both Baffert-trained horses are going to move forward. The number 3, Medina Spirit, the number 10, Concert Tour, both out-and-out species with blistering turn of foot when those gates do go back. Midnight Bourbon, would he be fast enough to be on the lead with them?
I don't think that's the plan for them. I think that he's going to sit, as you said, that stalking trip. And you mentioned in Concert Tour, I think that's the one that sits the beautiful trip off the pace. Of course, another horse in the race trained by Bob Baffert, who trains Medina Spirit. So I'm just thinking that the pace and the way this race shapes up is going to be so interesting to me. And how could you not just give John Velasquez all the props in the world. He's been incredible over the last couple of weeks.
He absolutely has been cleaned up yesterday, riding as good as ever. And of course, the Preakness Stakes is the race that still eludes him. He's finished second 3 times. Hall of Fame rider, has won nearly every possible race one would want to win in the United States. But this race, this is the one that he's still missing, and he's oh so hungry. I've asked him last year going into this, is this the one? Are you gearing up to finally get this, trophy on your mantelpiece? And he said, I couldn't. This is the race that's on my mind. This is the race that he wants to win most of all at present.
So we'll see if he can do it this afternoon. And Medina Spirit, sort of lost in the shuffle here. This is the only horse in the field that can win the Triple Crown, winning the middle jewel, the Preakness Stakes today. So that's sort of lost in all the shuffle here. So we'll see. And I respect Johnny the most in the world. If he's going to know where to put this horse, where it goes. I think we have Acacia walking over with Mike McCarthy, the trainer of Rumborough.
I am, Ron. Thank you. Very happy to be joined by Michael McCarthy, who has Rombauer. And, Michael, he won the El Camino Real Derby, which brought him to a win-and-you're-in option for the Preakness. How has he moved forward since that race?
He's been a really easy horse to train, very straightforward. The time off after the Breeders' Cup certainly did him some good. 90 days of an in-training break, and ran lights out in the El Camino Real Derby.
Okay.
Moved forward to the Bluegrass. Ran a respectable race, which looked like it was a bit paceless on paper. Turned out that way. Was a good third that day. Horses trained well, going the right way. Looks like there might be a little bit of a bias here today. Inside looks good. Speed looks good. Mile and 3/16. These horses will separate themselves. I just hope he's running late.
Your mentor, Todd Pletcher, in this race. His mentor, Wayne Lucas, in this race. How meaningful is it to be part of it?
Yeah, pretty special. As I had mentioned before, Wayne's tree has a lot of branches. Todd might be the biggest branch of them all. So it's nice to be able to come up under someone like Todd, who's been here. Wayne obviously set all the records. Todd's raised the bar. We're just lucky to be able to compete on a day like this against him.
Michael, thanks for your time. Good luck today with Rombauer.
Thank you.
And Naomi, look for Rombauer to be running late in Preakness 146 as we make our way over.
And good luck to the connections of Rumbauer. And there you saw Michael McCarthy, and he just explained, that this horse will be running late. And there's a horse that I think is going to stalk nicely in here, and that is Concert Tour. And I think that you caught up with Mike Smith, didn't you?
I did indeed.
Well, we're going to wait on that.
I guess we are still waiting on that.
Oh, there you go.
Very pleased to be joined by jockey Mike Smith, who will be riding a Concert Tour in the Preakness in a little bit. Mike, let's talk about tactics in this race. The big question is, Medina Spirit on your inside, who's going to go forward?
I guess it just depends on who jumps better, to be honest with you. No one, we can all have a game plan, but everything changes once those doors open. So you just got to see who gets away in better order. I'm not going to take away anything that comes easy to me. As long as my horse is good and happy in a good, happy, comfortable rhythm, wherever that's at. If that's on the lead, then so be it. If not, then it'll be second or third for that matter. But as long as he's happy and comfortable.
They don't call you Big Money Mike for no reason. You're cool as a cucumber. Do you ever get nervous, or is it more just excitement?
If you ain't nervous, you ain't ready. I hate when people tell me, oh, I ain't nervous at all. I said, well, you might as well not even be here. Yeah, I get nervous, but in a good way. I can't wait till I get on kind of way. Once I get up on the horse, and then I'm in some sort of control, and you feel a whole lot better, and everything just seems to slow down for me, and you focus. I use the energy to really help me to focus and slow things down, not to speed things up.
And there's the horses making their way to the track. What a great scene, just to see everybody coming down the track getting ready to compete in the 146th running of the Grade 1 Preakness Stakes. So, we're talking about the logical three in here, but there's a couple of other ways to go in this race. So maybe you use a horse like, Mike McCarthy mentioned that, there's Dean Wayne Lucas in there, there's Todd Pletcher, and, of course, there's Todd Pletcher. So let's talk about the number 8 Unbridled Honor in here. I think this one comes off a really good second. That was in the Grade 3 Lexington. It was sloppy conditions that day, so we'll see how this one runs.
Yeah, Unbridled Honor, a homebred for Whisper Hill Farm, was very far back in the Lexington Stakes. We are still looking at Medina Spirit at present, though. Of course, the victor in the Kentucky Derby, looking very alert and really well turned out there. Look at that gleaming coat on him. But as I mentioned, Unbridled Honor so far back in the Lexington Stakes, they went fast enough that day on the sloppy going, and he benefited from that. Now, does that sound familiar, Ron? The fact that he benefited from them going fast up front. Sloppy ground is hard to make up ground. He did so gamely, tried to get to King Fury, couldn't. But the reason I'm hinting at this is there is a lot of speed in this race. Aforementioned Medina Spirit, the horse we just saw walking over there. Concert Tour on the outside. Midnight Bourbon pressing the pace. Now, Connections of France Go to Ines said they want to move forward. Now, I think that's a bit of a tall ask for a horse that hasn't been forwardly placed before, and against American Speedsters might be a little bit of a tough challenge. But all in all, there are a few closes in here that certainly will benefit from a bristling fast pace.
Well, you know, we talked about me having the wise guy pick, as you mentioned up here. But your top pick is Concert Tour. And you spoke to Mike. And how do you see this race unfolding with Concert Tour? You know, does he sit off the pace like Mike said? Mike said he's like a push button. All he does is push button and win races.
I mean, this is a fresh horse coming in. 3-race win streak into that Grade 1 Arkansas Derby, including the Grade 2 Rebel. Outrode Caddo River in that Arkansas Derby. Begrudgingly let him go forward. I didn't think he liked that very much. This horse loves to lead. He was actually ended up sort of leaning in a little bit on Rosario in the stretch as well. He wasn't happy being taken back. So that all makes me think that if Concert Tour breaks on top like he has in nearly all of his starts, 3 out of 4 starts, he's been able to get to the front, or in the San Francisco sense, been able to take back and go again. But I think if Concert Tour breaks, like Mike said, why would you take him back? You're going to let him roll. You're going to see where's Medina Spirit on my inside, as Mike highlighted. He'll take a good look over his shoulder to see where Medina Spirit is at. But Concert Tour all the way for me. The Derby 2 weeks ago, Concert Tour has had a month off in comparison to some of these other horses. I am taking a very fit Baffert trainee.
Well, I wanted to ask you something about, you've been here for a long time. What about the number 7 horse in here? The horse from Japan. This is France Go di Aina. This one certainly been out there. I've watched him a couple of times out in the morning, running very well. So we'll see how this horse thinks. What impression did he give you?
So I got the pleasure of viewing France Go to Ina for the first time ever in Dubai. He was training incredibly well there for the UAE Derby. Was actually the Japanese hope for the Saudi Derby. Had a setback, couldn't get on the plane. Ended up being able to run in Dubai in the UAE Derby. But things didn't go his way in that race at all. Joao Rosario was on him that day, and he kind of missed the kick. So what ended up happening, he was in a pocket, a lot of traffic, really didn't get the chance to actually gear up for a run. Every time he tried to make a move, there were other horses in front of him. So that race was nearly over at the start. Now, I have spoken with Kate Hunter, who oversees the Japanese horses as they compete in the Triple Crown, and anywhere in the world for that matter. She said they have gate boys here. We've schooled him in the gate with a gate boy to make sure that he's standing up straight. He's ready to fire when they open. They want to move forward with him. As I said before, I don't think he's fast enough to do that. This is a horse that is best when he's sitting mid-pack and coming with a closing run. I think he'd be much more better suited adhering to his normal running style than maybe trying to make him do something that isn't as natural for him, and hence him going a bit too fast. He is looking very good here. We did have a little bit of a hiccup during the week that the rider kind of got dropped by him down the lane. But he is looking sensational once more.
Yeah, let's go down to Acacia. She's with trainer Roberto Giardino.
I am, as keep me in mind right near us, and they're about to get started with saddling. Robertino, nice enough to give us a little bit of time. How have you seen this horse, Robertino, this week acclimate here to Pimlico?
Great. He's been training really well and seems quite happy here.
Tell me about the experiments that you've had with the blinkers and taking them on and off throughout his career, and what do you think suits him best right now?
Definitely the blinkers off. He's matured enough now that he definitely doesn't need them, and he showed it last time in the Derby that he relaxes a lot better without them, so definitely without him.
He came with such a big late run in the Derby last time out after breaking slowly. You do have the inside post. How do you expect things to play out for him?
Well, maybe not be quite as far back today, but we're not going to rush him early either. So we'll let him run his own race the first part of it and try to save as much ground as possible the first part of it and come running.
I appreciate your time. Best of luck.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Keep me in mind, Ron and Naomi. One horse that will be saddling out here, Francisco de Aina, came in early to be saddled inside due to quarantine protocols, then moved back outside and is down here on the end with the pony. Keep me in mind, the only one to be saddled out here on the turf, as the rest of the field will be saddled inside the paddock.
Thank you, Acacia. You know, we have a couple of horses in here from a trainer that we haven't mentioned yet, and that is Chad Brown. He has Crowded Trade, I know you have some interest in, and also has in this race Risk Taking, who he wants to, he's coming here with a two-pronged attack. So let's talk about those horses right now.
Yeah, Crowded Trade. Now, we've been reiterating this over and over. Very similar resume as Cloud Computing, who Chad Brown won the Preakness with 3 races. He was second in the Gotham, then third in the Wood Memorial, and then went on to win the Preakness. Now, however, Chad Brown has mentioned that perhaps Crowded Trade, he's not as certain he wants this distance as he was with Cloud Computing. But Crowded Trade, to me, in that Wood Memorial, they didn't go overly fast in that first quarter. And this is a closing-style horse that ended up still making up a lot of ground in a Wood Memorial that perhaps was a touch slower than usual.
Yeah, and the other horse from trainer Chad Brown is the number 9 horse in here, Risk Taking, excuse me. And if you go back, a really nice performance in the Grade 3 Withers, comes back and runs the Wood Memorial. So there's the jockeys making their way down right by us right now, and certainly an exciting part of the afternoon as they head down to get and meet up with their mounts.
Indeed, this is always a very special aspect of the Middle G of the Triple Crown, seeing those jocks head out and getting that leg up on the turf. Of course, indeed, as Acacia mentioned, only had 2 horses out there saddling on the turf, but the rest will be brought out with their saddles on and walking over. They wanted them to keep them quiet inside. I couldn't blame the trainers. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of things that could spook these horses. And as we mentioned quickly, Risk Taking before, of course, Klarovich Stables. The connections have won before. Seth Klarman himself grew up near Baltimore. It's so special to win a race like this on your home turf, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see how these horses run out. They're about to head out to meet their mounts, as I said. Anybody else that you've seen as they've walked down that tickles your fancy, as we should say?
I'm pretty sure I'm going to stick with Concert Tour on top. I think the perfect post position on the outside means he's going to be able to get a perfect stalking trip. Aside from that, how about Ram, the coach, Dwayne Lucas in here? 6-time Preakness victor, looking for his second. Holds the record for most starters in most starters of any trainer here in the Preakness. 44 starters and counting with Ram on the rail.
Yeah, comes in off back-to-back victories. And, you got to respect Dwayne Lucas, man. This has been being a son of American Pharaoh. Wayne is coming here. He didn't come here just to eat the crab cakes. I think this horse has a shot this afternoon. So you're looking at a horse, 13-1, taking a little bit of a play in there, and I can understand why.
Yeah, I spoke with Dwayne Lucas himself, coach, and I was wondering if the distance is a question with him, because to me he looks like that bulky sprinter type. Now, being by American Pharaoh, Mr. Lucas assured me that the distance was actually not a problem whatsoever and was only going to enhance his chances. Now, he is that kind of mid-pack horse that we've been talking about. He made a wide closing move in the opener on Derby Day. Now, he is a half-brother to Cole Front, who was the victor in the Group 2, Godolphin Mile in Dubai. So I am still wondering if that mile at 3:16 is really what he wants, but he has been turned out to perfection, and I mean, you couldn't expect anything less from the coach.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to see how this horse runs. I mean, that is basically, we've gone through the whole field here, and it is an exciting race. And what I like about this race, you see the favorite up there right now, Midnight Bourbon, tepid 5-2. It's not like there's a monster favorite in here that, you say it's over. I think there's a lot of horses that have chances in here. So we're going to turn it over to, should we go? You have anybody else you want to talk about before we head it out?
I think we have certainly covered the bases, and occasion I will come up next to give the verdict of who we think is behaving the best and looking the best as they warm up for the 146th running of the Preakness.
That's right. Very happy to be joined now by Seth Klarman from Klarovich Stables, who has Crowded Trade and Risk Taking getting ready for the Preakness. And Seth, first of all, you've won this race before. You are a Maryland native. How special is the Preakness to you?
It's pretty amazing. I came all the time when I was a kid, living a few blocks away, and it's a thrill to be here. I really pinch myself. I bet on the horses growing up, but I had no idea I'd even own one horse, let alone horses in the Preakness.
Let's start with Crowded Trade, as he's taken the same path that Cloud Computing did into the Preakness. This has always been the plan for him. How's he coming in?
It is the plan. He could have run in the Derby. We had enough points. We chose to aim here. Probably that's the right move for him as he's still developing. He's doing great. Chad's very happy with him. He's obviously a stalker, so we'll see how that sets up.
And Risk Taking opting to run here instead of the Peter Pan. Give me a little insight on that decision.
Well, that was Chad's call. Chad he thought 2 turns would fit him better, and a longer distance would fit him better. And, this track's been pretty speed favoring, so it doesn't really favor him. But this pace could be pretty hot, so we'll see.
Appreciate your time, Seth. Best of luck.
See you. Thank you so much.
Crowded Trade and Risk Taking ready for Preakness 146.
Preakness fans, we'd like to direct your attention to the Preakness live stage in the infield as our very own Baltimore Mayor, Brandon M. Scott, will join the Webby Artist of the Year and the force behind Club Quarantine D-Nice as they deliver the official Preakness 146 Riders Up.
Riders up!
The horses for the 146th running of the Preakness Stakes, now making their way onto the track here in Baltimore at historic Pimlico Racecourse. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's meet the field for the 146th running of the Preakness Stakes. Number 1, Ram, owned by Christina Baker and William Mack, trained by D. Wayne Lucas. The jockey is Ricardo Santana Jr. Number 2, Keep Me in Mind, with David Cohen, handling the reins for Cypress Creek Equine, Arnold Benowith, and Spendthrift Farm LLC. The trainer is Robertino Diodoro. Number 3, Medina Spirit, with John Velasquez, owned by Zidane Racing Stables and trained by Bob Baffert. Number 4, Crowded Trade, with Javier Castellano for Klarovich Stables Incorporated, Chad Brown trains. Number 5, Midnight Bourbon, owned by Winchell Thoroughbreds LLC and trained by Steve Asmussen. Arad Ortiz Jr. up. Number 6, Rombauer, with Flavian Pratt, owned by John Fradkin, Diane Fradkin. Michael McCarthy is the trainer. Number 7, coming out behind the field on the turf course still, Francisco de Ina, with Joel Rosario, owned by Yuji Inaida, and the trainer is Hariyuki Mori. Eight is Unbridled Honor. Owned by Whisper Hill Farm LLC and trained by Todd Pletcher with Luis Saez. There's 9 Risk Taking with Jose Ortiz for Clarabitch Stables Incorporated, the trainer Chad Brown. And number 10 is Concert Tour with Mike Smith, owned by Gary and Mary West and trained by Bob Baffert. 6 minutes to Preakness 146.
Well, it's time for the big one as the horses are warming up on track. We're getting a good look at them trackside. And Naomi, just talking about some physicals as we've been able to follow these horses all week long, beginning with the horse that's now your favorite in Medina Spirit. He was pretty revved up today.
He was pretty revved up in the end with the pony, but what I saw of him beforehand, just walking around here on the turf, I thought he was pretty relaxed in comparison to some of the others that were getting a little bit worked up of the new environment there. But Medina Spirit is a pro. He's done this all before. He's seen the crowds at the Kentucky Derby as well. And to me, looking at Medina Spirit as an individual, we've seen him so often now in the mornings. He isn't overly big. Now, of course, we know he was purchased for $1,000 as a yearling. He isn't the flashiest of horse to look at. He isn't the smoothest of mover. He's a little bit shuffly from behind, but that hasn't stopped him from showing incredible speed and so much heart. And in a way, he's been such an overachiever in comparison to his price. And I asked Johnny Velasquez about that. He said, I don't look at what they cost, and that doesn't matter to me if a horse has heart and the will to run. And clearly, Medina's Spirit is all heart, and that's what he showed as well. But I like the way he's now parading there with the pony, starting to relax once again.
Turn her up.
He was a little bit revved up indeed. He was a little bit revved up indeed as he was with the pony, but he's settled down now once again, which is good to see.
He has settled for sure, as he was really a little bit keyed up coming here onto the turf course to get saddled, but on his toes right now as John Velasquez kept him with the pony. The other one from the Baffert barn is the 10 Concert Tour, who was very revved up last time out before the Arkansas Derby. While he was sharp on the track today, he was pretty content. See.
Absolutely, you want these horses to save their energy. And physically, Concert Tour reminds me of last year's winner Authentic. That leggy type, that two-turn type, a little bit lighter, but incredibly well and lean muscled. And Authentic was also the one that kind of played up a little bit, but kept a little net. And that's what we see here with Concert Tour, just on his toes enough to say, I'm ready to go when the gates open.
Got a little bit warm behind, but I think that that's normal for him. We do have quite a bit of sunshine out today, but as far as how horses are acting, I think the most impressive, given what we know about him, is what we saw from Midnight Bourbon. Steve Asmussen walked him over. I would say he was downright professional today, as he can be a little bit of racing's bad boy, but really you can tell all the work they've put into him has paid off.
Absolutely. Full credit goes to the Steve Asmussen team for really teaching this runner a couple of manners, to put it mildly. In the mornings, you still see that he shakes his head around and he wants to get on with things, but he's contained. He is minding himself. And as he was walking around with Steve Asmussen by his side, you can see him looking at Steve and saying, see, I'm being a good boy today.
He absolutely was. I was very impressed with what I saw from him, just knowing what I know. As we look at one of the two Chad Brown runners, and that's the 4 Crowded Trade, who's looking to repeat what we saw Cloud Computing do. He by far had the most aggressive warm-up as Javier Castellano took him right from the pony.
And that might make you think that he wants to be more forwardly placed in comparison to some of the other out-and-out closing types in here. Indeed, we saw him warm up. He shot away. He looked good doing so. I personally think that's a wonderful thing. I love horses warming up without the pony, just getting the chance to really stretch their legs, open up their lungs to make sure they're ready to go.
He warmed up beautifully out there. The other Chad Brown runner risk-taking, a little bit keyed up today too, but he too has settled a bit more with the pony. It'll be a fun Preakness, Naomi.
Oh, absolutely. Wide open field. Look at that betting board. You see the 3 now holding slight favoritism. Medina Spirit, the number 5 Midnight Bourbon was your favorite throughout the day, and then the number 10 Concertor 7-2. So many opportunities. Where will you go, Acacia?
I landed on Midnight Bourbon, but the field is approaching the starting gate. We are moments away from the 146th running of the Preakness Stakes, and Dave Rodman has the call.
Medina Spirit, now just a slight favorite in the wagering over Midnight Bourbon, each 5-2. Now approaching the starting gate for the 146th running of the Preakness Stakes. With Medina Spirit now 5-2, Midnight Bourbon has drifted up to 3-1, 3-1 on Concert Tour. The horses have reached the starting gate for the 146th Preakness. Starter Bruce Wagner is given the go-ahead to begin the load as Ram is in. To post 1, Rombauer. Keep Me in Mind. Five to 2, Medina Spirit. Working with Franz Godina, the well-traveled Franz Godina, with Joel Rosario. Francisco de Ina is in. Now leading Medina Spirit forward with John Velasquez. Unbridled Honor. About half the runners in. Crowded Trade. Risk Taking. Here's Midnight Bourbon. Middle of the pack, post 5, and Concert Tour. We are ready in Baltimore for Preakness 146. And they're off in the Preakness. A bit slow to go is Keep Me in Mind, otherwise a good break for them all. And there goes Medina Spirit, and John Velasquez puts Medina Spirit right on the lead. And Midnight Bourbon right there alongside, and Concert Tour deep from the outside in third position, and No Hurry Early. And they're followed down inside by Crowded Trade, who's saving ground of that first turn run. And Francisco de Ina is keyed up in between horses, only about 3 lengths from the lead as they roll round that first turn. Here's Ram racing on the inside, Rombauer between horses as they round that turn, and Risk Taking will be 3 wide and No Hurry either. And they're followed by Keep Me in Mind, second last position. Unbridled Honor is 10th and last as they move past the 6 furlong mark. The opening quarter was 23.77. A well-relaxed Medina Spirit out there, half length in front from second Midnight Bourbon. Francisco de Ina is making a bid now and has room in between horses, one off the fence. Francisco de Ina is going to try to test Medina Spirit at this point. And Midnight Bourbon is keeping up on the outside in third. Rombauer's between horses, and Concert Tour is on the outside. Only 4 lengths from the front running Medina Spirit around the far turn. Under pressure there is Crowded Trade. As on the outside, Risk Taking has to pick up as well. They're followed by Ram. And then it's back to Keep Me in Mind and Unbridled Honor. The 6 furlongs a minute 10.97. And so with 2.5 furlongs left to go, Midnight Bourbon on the outside to Medina Spirit. Midnight Bourbon, Medina Spirit is fighting back on the inside. They're shoulder to shoulder. And on the outside, Rombauer's ready to roll too. 3 chances, furlong and a half left to go. And here comes Rombauer on the outside. Rombauer's gone by Midnight Bourbon. Medina Spirit's back in third and fading. A 16th of a mile left to go. Rombauer and Flavian Pratt, they're rolling home. Rombauer to win by 3. Midnight Bourbon was second. Medina Spirit was followed by Keep Me in Mind, and then it was back to Crowded Trade. The time was a minute 53.62. $6,532. Posted on the board here in Baltimore for the 146th Preakness. Off at 11-1. 6 Rombauer. $6,532.
Flavian, first of all, congratulations. In 2019, you officially won the Kentucky Derby, but this time you crossed the wire in front in a Triple Crown race. Does this feel just a little bit different to you?
Yeah, it does feel different. Oh, what a feeling. I'm so thankful to Michael and all his team. I want to thank the groom and the pony girl, because he was quite on his toes before the race, and I thought they did a great job.
Yeah, he was pretty rambunctious.
He was, and that's why I think they did a great job.
You made the brave decision in 2015 to shift your tack from France to the United States. Did you ever imagine that you'd be winning Triple Crown races?
Well, to be honest, when I left France, I was to do better than what I was doing in France. Now, to be also honest, I didn't knew the magnitude of those races. I knew a lot about Breeders' Cup, but the Triple Crown, I didn't know much about it. And it's since I'm here, I realize how important it is. There's so much history behind those races, and just to win one, it's amazing. To win the Preakness, it's even better.
146 years of history, and this win gives trainer Mike McCarthy his first win in a Triple Crown race. He's with Kenny Rice right now.
Four Crowded Trade finished fifth. 6-5-3-2-4 for the high five. It's unofficial. Official. Now parading in front of the Pimlico Grandstand, the Turfside Terrace on the main track. Here is Rombauer, owned by John Fradkin, Diane Fradkin, Michael McCarthy with his first Preakness starter, and Flavien Prat aboard for the victory. Running time, minute 53.62. Official 25.60. Win Mutual on Rombauer. And as Rumbauer prepares to make his way to the infield winner's circle, high above the clubhouse cupola replica, the weather vane now being painted with the pink silks of owners John Fradkin and Diane Fradkin, owners of Rumbauer. Congratulations, the trainer Michael McCarthy, winning jockey Flavian Pratt. Rumbauer now stepping in the winner's circle. 3-year-old bay colt by Twirling Candy from Kashmir by Cowboy Cal. Bred in Kentucky by his owners John Fradkin, Diane Fradkin. Time minute 53.62 for the mile and 3/16, 146th running of the Preakness Stakes. Double pays $105.40, and the 50-cent pick 3, $179.80. Pick 4, $2,797.60. Pick 5, $10,631.30. Pick 6, $5,940.56.